Hi everyone! The works we commonly now know as the 2 and 3-part Inventions, or Inventions and Sinfonias, were originally conceived by J.S. Bach as teaching material in keyboard playing and composition for his eldest son, Wilhelm Friedemann. Ellwood Derr's article, published in the 1980s, concentrates on the 2-part works, especially their original order found in the version begun by J.S. Bach in 1720, entitled Preambula and Fantasie. Bach's subsequent reordered and revised version of 1723, entitled Inventions and Sinfonias, was assembled by him for publication. It is this version most of us know today. In this video, I'll focus on Derr's discussion of the ordering of the 1720 version, which is also the order of presentation I'll adopt for my upcoming video series on the 2-part Inventions, which will be available on Patreon. I'll also consider Derr's thoughts on Bach's reordering for the 1723 version. Derr's discussion concerning other aspects of the works I will periodically reference in my upcoming video series, and in those videos and the remainder of this one, I will also adopt Derr's practice of referring to the 1720 works as preambles and the 1723 works as inventions. Derr describes the order of the 1720 preambles as an elaborate multifaceted construct involving the arrangement of the tonics and key signatures of the pieces, the organization of metric successions, increasing keyboard technical demands, and finally, a sophisticated graduated series of demonstrations of compositional techniques. He also adds, not only are the preambles individual models for the neophyte composer, each dealing with particular compositional matters, but they also operate on other planes as well. Derr claims the 15 2-part preambles are grouped into 5 compositionally though not tonally closed 3-movement suites he labels triptychs. The tonic notes of the keys of the first 2 triptychs and the B minor work of the third outline an ascent from C to B, followed in the remaining triptychs by a descent back to C, with the included flat keys of the descent located in their relevant positions. The keys excluded from the group of preambles, such as F-sharp minor and A-flat major, are, according to Derr, extremely rare in Baroque-era works, and some excluded keys, such as B major with its 5 sharps, would, he claims, introduce unnecessary impediments for the beginning student. The included key signatures of the triptychs, for example, use only 2, 3, or 4 accidentals, with the first 6 works using only 1, 2, or none. Any other keys reached by modulation also use few additional accidentals. The triptychs are arranged symmetrically around the central triptych labelled Z, which Derr claims is the turning point of the set and is given distinctive definition by Bach. Firstly, Derr states, it is here that counter-subjects are routinely introduced with the subject at the very beginning of each piece. Derr's use here of fugal terminology such as counter-subject and subject to describe the thematic material of the Z triptych preambles is something I'll discuss further in my own video series. Here I will say that while arguments can be made that several of the preambles and the 3 final triptychs are fugues, Derr's use of the fugal terminology, especially for the preambles and the initial 2 triptychs, is problematic. His use of these terms, however, is not consistent, and we will soon see that he sometimes uses other terms which probably would have been more appropriate. Derr continues, in the Z triptych, for the first time, there is consistent imitation of the subject-counter-subject pair at the dominant. The B minor preamble, which initiates this triptych, requires 2 manuals for performance. Derr then points out that 2 manuals are also necessary for several of the upcoming works in the remaining triptychs. The sequence of tonics in Z is unique in that it is the only triptych which displays a succession of semitones. The arrangement of tonics in the first 2 triptychs, for example, span a major third, and those of the final 2 triptychs span a minor third. Derr suggests the symmetry of the triptychs is also reflected in Bach's disposition of quadruple and triple meters proceeding in the following pattern. Beneath his diagram showing the triptych series, Derr includes brief explanations of the main characteristics uniting the 3 works in each. The first triptych features scalar subjects treated a la ricercar, a predecessor of the fugue. The second triptych features arpeggio subjects developed through various transformational procedures. As mentioned earlier, I will go into all of these features in greater detail in my video series. For the third triptych, Derr lists the following features. He also here uses the term contrapuntal associate instead of counter-subject. Rather than using the words subject and counter-subject, perhaps theme and contrapuntal associate would have been a better choice for describing these works' thematic material. I will use theme and contrapuntal associate for my own videos. Derr appropriates another word from fugal terminology with his use here of episodes. Once again, this shouldn't necessarily be taken as indicating a fugue. The two concluding triptychs feature the following characteristics, with the series culminating in the canon of the last piece. Derr's final comments indicate further that the original order of the preambles were intended to incrementally introduce the student to progressively more intricate pieces, concluding with the lengthy canon of the C minor work. It is mainly the loss of this feature when J.S. Bach reordered and revised the preambles for the 1723 version that Derr has the most difficulty, claiming it was certainly the greatest mistake of his career as a teacher. It has had catastrophic results on musical instruction, at least insofar as posterity is concerned. The new ordering now, instead of gaining in difficulties, places the first and last of the preambles successively. The keys still ascend from C to B with the flat keys included in their relevant positions, but the works are generally arranged as pairs of parallel major and minor keys, except for B flat major and B minor, and E major and E minor, which are preceded by E flat major. Derr states this arrangement presents an instructional cryptogram, an incoherent string for now the simplest and the most complicated pieces of the original series, namely C major and C minor, are adjacent to one another instead of being separated by a microcosm of 13 intervening pieces. He continues, the new ordering also obliterates the groupings of individual pieces into triptychs, and it prevents perception of their originally intended purpose as teaching material arranged in a progressive order. We may never know exactly why Bach chose to rearrange the piece's original order, especially since, as Derr suggests, we may presume that Bach continued to teach from the improved versions of the pieces, calling on the original plan as required. After all his critical remarks, Derr acknowledges that the 1723 reordering allowed Bach to revise and correct some of the preambles, demonstrating Bach's acknowledgement of the existence of imperfections in some of the pieces and the achievement of perfection for each through insightful analysis of the errors and their sovereign improvements. Derr concludes by saying, we are obliged to reinstate the original order of the pieces in their mature versions for analytical and pedagogical investigation, along with comparative study of the primitive versions. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.